Welcome to Atlanta, Georgia.
We are about to do another board game vlog, or board game store vlog.
Yeah, we're basically going through 7 or 8 different board game stores here in the Atlanta area, both downtown and in the outskirts, to let you know
which one's the best, which one's the worst, which ones we recommend, and which ones you should stay far, far away.
We are actually going to be rating and reviewing them based off of how welcoming they are,
how clean their stores are,
what their board game selection is like,
and what their community and places to play is available.
So we'll have everything timestamped down below. Feel free to watch through this video or skip back and forth depending on what stores are next to you in your area. And if you're coming through the area, let me tell you this. We've already discovered one store that if you're a board game fan or aficionado, you have to visit. It's going to be a little bit later in the vlog, so make sure you stay tuned. All right, we're swinging by Titan Games and Comics.
Yes, Titan Games and Comics.
Which is one we've heard some positive things about. A little bit of a smaller shop out here on the kind of the northern part of Atlanta, and we'll let you know all about it. It is
right there with the Batman logo.
Right here with the Batman logo. So staff, super approachable and welcoming. Board game collection, like Shira is saying, actually really great selection and some really good curated stuff. There might be a few things that we need to grab off the shelf.
Yeah.
And there's a whole space for gaming, and other half of the store that's just dedicated to comic books. Some RPGs, some D&D, not a lot of miniature stuff, but I think this is a really great hybrid of like a comic board game store, which is something we've been discovering more and more on these trips. So we just got out of Titan Games and Comics. We would have it in the background, but honestly the light is way too bright, just like super sunny, very, very uncomfortable.
Instead, I have games and comics in the background.
Yeah, we picked up games, we picked up comics, we picked up Valeria,
Yep.
and we picked up Someone is Killing the Children and the Isle of Skye expansion, which is just fantastic. So we've got 4 things that we go through when reviewing and rating a board game store. And let me just say, I so far am insanely impressed with Atlanta. Yeah. I cannot wait to see what else we come across. Titans Games and Comics is a really, really solid store. But let's start digging in. So first off, welcoming.
They said hello right when we walked in the door. The cash register is very conveniently located right at the entrance, so they're able to see who comes in and give them a shout out and ask them if they need any help, which they were very helpful with.
Within seconds of me asking for a comic book recommendation, which is something we like to do at different comic stores, he had already led me over to one that he enjoyed and started telling me about it, which was super helpful. And they were happy to engage in dialogue, happy to be there and present. There was even a conversation going on with one of the employees that seemed to have lasted for moving so the trees in the background are aesthetically more pleasing.
Okay.
Instead of in a straight line, I want that depth, which isn't something they care about. No, there was a conversation going on with like some just community members there for the better part of like 15 minutes or so while we were there, and it was really nice because they were caring and paying attention and really attentive. Next. Cleanliness.
So the store is in general organized.
Yeah.
However, the carpets could be vacuumed a little bit. And there's not as much natural light in the store as there are in some of the other stores we've seen. It's kind of a little hole in the wall, although it is noticeable with the huge Batman sign hanging above it. And it's lit like artificially on the inside. It's not dark and dingy. I just noticed like there isn't as much natural light coming in from windows. I
actually I feel very comfortable in the aesthetic of it. It is a hole in the wall. It is a bit dark and dingy for like, it's your stereotypical comic book board game store. That being said, I did find it a little bit more open, way better organized than your average one, so it felt very, very comfortable. Now, for people who have not been into those stores at all in the past, it might feel a little bit insider, because they've got a lot of things, a lot of product that has been on the shelf for a long time, a lot of comic books that are just there for you to like search out and discover, which I find fun. I love exploring through places like that.
But can be overwhelming for someone new to the hobby.
Can be. That being said, if I was going to make one big aesthetic change to it, is I would invest a little bit in their table space and their chair space.
I would get matching tables, matching chairs.
Matching tables, matching chairs.
Are a little bit mismatched, which looks a little helter-skelter, but they're very well used, which goes into the next section.
They have such. That's not actually the next section.
It's not
for
the
the
next
record.
section. The next section is collection, but I'm skipping collection and going straight to community.
Okay. Community. Oh, wow. All right, we'll just step this way while she coughs. So we're skipping collection, we're going straight to community as that bug attacks Shira kosher, which isn't kosher, by the way.
No.
Very, very offensive.
Yeah.
They have game events every single night of the week.
And they said that they've been packed throughout COVID, after COVID, before COVID.
Yeah.
They've had to change some of them up a bit, but
we're talking Magic, we're talking Marvel, we're talking RPGs, D&D, Hero Clicks,
regular board games.
So much stuff.
And so it's really nice to see that their space is well used. Someone's shoveling back there.
So much shoveling trash, garbage. So let's get through this last section as quickly as possible.
And then collection. Their collection is really well curated. They have really neat finds. You can tell they went through the process of thinking what they wanted to get. Their favorite game is Terraforming Mars, which is a huge win for me because that's my.
They had Mind MGMT up on the shelf. It was the first time I've seen that in the wild, which is really exciting because it's such a fantastic game. They even had a section where you have older games that have been around for a little while. Great selection there, curated. Games that they've had on the shelf for a long time that they're trying to like move out of the way. That's how we got Isle of Skye. A whole wall of small box games. Separated Marvel Champions over near the Marvel section, which is really smart. And a place at the very front of the store that had the brand new stuff. So really, really smart when it comes out to layout, design. Great for me to explore the store. And there was corners where I could find both board games, comics, and paraphernalia all across the area. So I really enjoyed my time in Titan. This is a high-ranking one for me. It really is. So if you're around, make sure you stop by. Different collection from the stores that we've seen around the Atlanta area so far. So if you're just a board gamer, I would add this to like my monthly rotation of community nights, game nights, stuff like that. There's a plane up there, literally a jet, literally a rocket. Can a YouTuber get some silence around here? Oh my gosh. So we're currently running around the city, and I have to say, Atlanta traffic is not the greatest. There's a big circle that gets fairly bogged down. So if you live near any of the game stores that we speak positively about, my vote's going to be for the one potentially closest to you. But then on top of that, so far I've been super impressed with the gaming community here in Atlanta. It seems like there's a fantastic hub of board gamers and comic book fans and just nerd culture altogether.
It's really surprising and it's really fun to find because
take exit 251 on the left.
Tower vlogging is so rude. It's really exciting to see because Florida was a lot more card games and Tennessee had a lot more board games. And so it's nice to see another city that we weren't expecting to actually be board game oriented and not as much living card games, even though that's still very prominent.
Yeah, it's been very fun to explore and discover, and I can't wait to see some of these other stores. But I just thought I'd mention that we're driving, I don't know, probably 6 hours total today just racing around the city to all these locations. And a lot of that's due to the fact that some of them are like 30 minutes away, with the context that traffic, depending on when you're leaving and going, is adding 20 or 30 minutes at a time.
I don't know if it's about 6 hours. I would say maybe 2 to 3 hours, but then we'll also have a nice road trip down tonight to Florida.
We feel like we're driving a lot. It's both a pro and con. Like, you have these amazing stores because there's a big city and a big community, but then along with that, you got to make a point of going to them because they're not going to be in your way. They're going to require you to like schedule and plan to go, which is why we're making this, so you can see where you want to stop by. Because if you're driving past Atlanta, a lot of them are actually on the outskirts, which means if you plan it correctly, you could stop by and visit 2 or 3 of these stores as you're passing through the city without really changing your route too much. So keep that in mind. All right, off to the next one. We just pulled up to another comic and game store, Oxford Comic and Games. Here's the thing. So many stores are trying to do the hybrid of board games and comics. And a lot of them
are doing them quite well, actually, in this area. So let's go see if this one is doing it quite well as well. Let's go. As well. We're gonna buy more games because we need. Oh my God.
We don't have enough games in there. I think we actually might do like a full board game haul video just off the road trip alone. Overall, this is definitely more of a comic book store than board game store, which is nothing against it. That's what it advertises itself as. But they do have a great collection of board games that you can get your hands on, but mostly a really well organized and precise collection of comics with a lot of activity, people asking the front desk for help, them coming out and kind of grabbing things. I could spend a long time digging through the rows and rows and columns of different types of merchandise. So impressed.
So initially when walking into the store, I thought it was just going to be a little geek culture place, and then as soon as you round the corner, you see their whole long tunnel of comics. They have a smaller selection of board games, which has some cool hand-picked titles like Ankh and Bloodborne, but their main thing here is going to be comic books, and they're really well organized as well. You should check them out.
So, Oxford Comics and Games. And if you hear road sounds around us, it's because there's literally a highway.
They are right on a busy street. But they are mostly comics, very less games.
Yeah.
And
they still have a board game collection, but we'll go through it here in the reviewing system. So, starting with welcoming.
They said hello when, I believe one person said hello when we walked in the door, but then they got busy with all their other customers.
Yeah.
They seem to be pretty popular. They had a really steady flow of customers in and out of the store while we were there.
I wouldn't call them unwelcoming. They certainly engaged with us. That being said, I don't know that we would have been engaged with every time. It didn't seem like a policy for every staff member to have their eyes looking out for someone. And I definitely walked past the front desk where someone wasn't engaged with anyone.
And they didn't.
Again, a little bit more lenient potentially for a comic book store. We're much more critical of board game specific stores that aren't directly engaging, because I think it's something that the board game community demands. Whereas comics, people are probably walking in and browsing a little bit more often than a board game store. Really popular place though. There was a lot of activity and a lot of helpful customer service happening. So. Cleanliness.
It's a little hole in the wall. I was surprised when I walked in.
Behind us here, you can see that entire barrel, that tub, is a lot of depth for this little tiny store.
I walked in, I was like, oh, it's going to be like a small room. I thought it cut off right at the edge of the counter, and then I turn the counter and I see a whole long aisle of comics mostly, and then like a corner of board games. And so it was really cool to see. It was a little disorganized. I don't necessarily think it was necessarily unclean, but especially in like a back room, it was dusty.
It's a big store that is jam-packed to the rafters. And I mean the rafters. There was things that I couldn't see on the board game shelf because they were
so
too
tall.
high up.
They actually had a little step stool, did you notice, right at the foot of the board games, because they have them all high up.
And so, not necessarily dirty, but definitely not clean, and much more like a closet that has just continued to expand with more and more sections, more and more. Like there was a new in arrival section, a used comics section, a sale section, a
adult
section
only
for board games, an adult only section, which we'll get to in the end of this. Let's talk about their collection, what was available. And from my sense of things, this is going to be collection as if people are stopping by and maybe picking up a board game with a bunch of comics. It is not proficiently curated.
It is not an intro collection. I thought it skipped kind of the intro steps. It skipped Splendor, it skipped Catan.
But it's also not a curated heavy collection.
Right. It's kind of in between them both. I saw one version of like an anniversary edition of Ticket to Ride, and then I saw Ankh over there. I saw here and there splatters.
It is a strange mess of, as if someone likes board games but hasn't focused on how to build a board game market.
And additionally, they're all at eye level and then like 3 feet taller than you. You look at eye level and you expect to look down at the rest of the shelf, but you have to look up at the, like he was saying, like there's literally a step ladder because the collection is up to the ceiling.
I didn't personally find a lot of enjoyment browsing their board game shelf.
I didn't find anything that piqued my interest.
And I wouldn't come here specifically for board games. I think it is a good adjacent space for comics. And comics are really solid.
Yeah.
But board games is a second thought. Let's talk finally about community space.
There was no space to play board games, but since they aren't
there was also no place to sit and read comics.
Right.
This is designed to be a store.
That you walk in, you purchase what you want, and then you walk out and you peruse at your home.
It's like an old used bookstore where you don't sit down, you don't engage. Now, the other things I want to mention for the community, though, is we saw 2 things here that we haven't seen in any other store. First and foremost is going to be the adult-only corner or section, with a little bit of B-roll that we took that she yelled at me for.
Yes.
The adult-only section is going to have explicit manga, some pornographic material, some explicit anime. It is cordoned off, but like with a tiny little paper sign. I don't know if I'm looking for a place. If you're looking for that, that's awesome. But if you're not looking for that, you might stumble into it. Or if you're bringing family.
I thought it was pretty adequately signed, but I thought children were going to want to like venture into it as soon as they read the sign adult only. It's kind of like, here kids, come, look,
I would have
candy.
stuck that section in one of the other side rooms they have. instead of the middle of the, because it's right next to their used
It's right next to the
comics
bathroom
section.
also.
So just to note, that does exist here. It might be something that you're looking for in your market. For us, I don't know that it adds any value to the actual store or the atmosphere.
The other thing that they had here was anime and manga. They had a whole collection of DVD anime and then manga books, which was really cool. I haven't seen that at any of the stores.
So if you're a big fan of anime, I assume they have a lot of titles that are hard to get your digital hands on unless you're doing something like a streaming service from Japan. So that's just a really good option if you're looking for a marketplace for all of that. And that's going to be our review. It's not high up there, especially when it comes to board games, but it was a really interesting store for comics.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go to the next one.
We are heading into Master Goblin Games, and I hope they have some Masters, I hope they have some Goblins, and I hope they have some games.
This one is a little bit more downtown. We actually had to deal with traffic,
Lots of traffic.
a bit, and went through some good and bad parts of the city to get here. So we'll see what they have. So we found the Master Goblin himself. I have to. Is that the correct terminology?
What we've been doing now is I'm a Goblin Captain.
Goblin Captain.
Chief who's the real...
I hear. Either way, they've got a whole Goblin hierarchy that's specified here. But what we've discovered, we just spent a nice, lovely time chatting with him. This is a brand new store, about a month old when we're visiting.
And it looks brand new and it looks fantastic. I love the way that they have things organized. It's small, but it still has a decent collection here. Handpicked collection, kind of intro, then you can get the heavy deep dive in. They have some Star Wars X-Wings going on. They're about to get into some Magic the Gathering things.
And a really nice, hopefully, kind of RPG and gaming space back here in the corner once they get a wormwood table in, which I've always said I will one day build a house around a wormwood table. That being said, we're excited we stopped by. We kind of did the awkward vlog with him hanging out in the background because it is a smaller space. This is going to be a great place to pop in for a planned game night or to pick up a title if you're like running home for the holidays or spending time with family. It's a real good spot down here. Kind of downtown, not quite downtown, but like
downtown on a corner.
More base city Atlanta than some of the others that are out on the outskirts. So cool. All right, we're going to head off to the next one and, of course, review and update you on this one.
So,
Master Goblin Gaming.
It's a very cute, quaint little store in the corner of, as you're entering downtown district in Atlanta, Georgia. Yep. They just opened up recently, so it's still fairly new. And shall we dive into all of our categories?
Yeah, category 1 is going to be welcoming. And man, these guys were just rude, just off the bat. Just
he was super nice and welcoming. He said hello. We were the only ones in the store at the time. He said hello right from the start. We walked in. He walked into us. He showed us what he had and what he was planning on.
Commander with a customer.
Yeah,
just sitting down having fun. I guarantee this is a guy, not only because it's a new store, but I guarantee this is a guy that greets and welcomes and is excited to interact with everyone that comes through that door.
And he's doing it for the love of the hobby. And that's what's really great.
Yeah.
Cleanliness, the store was immaculate.
Oh, it's brand new for one. But two, I think it's designed to be clean.
Yeah, I think it's designed to have a fresh, clean, crisp look, unlike the hole in the walls. Lots of natural light being on a corner storefront. So that was really cool.
I got distracted by the FedEx truck.
I saw that.
It was so loud. It was just a big, big thing. Let's talk then about the collection.
The collection. So it's small. It has a lot of intro gateway games. It doesn't have so much of the deep dives that I usually look for, and it's not as specifically curated.
This is going to be a store that will really focus on Magic once they have it in stock.
Yep, a lot of the living card games.
It has a good accessible X-Wing community here, which means that might be something you grab.
And I think he's still trying to figure out what the community around him is still wanting. And he's going to curate the store to what the demand is. Yeah. So he has like a base selection kind. He's going to see what sells and what doesn't sell, and then he's going to go from there.
I wouldn't be surprised from what I know from retail to see this store really cater to a lot of your more accessible games, right? Your Azul, your Ticket to Rides, your Catan, with a few heavy titles that they have 1 or 2 copies of. The reason being is because it's not a big marketplace. It's not a big store. You don't have a lot of room to expand. And so if you're selling stuff, you have to have stuff that moves. And a lot of those family, holiday, accessible games is going to be what this this focuses on, with Magic being the backbone of the store.
Yeah.
Is that a negative? I don't think so. Not if you're downtown here, not if you're near the store, because it'll still be a great place to stop in and check something new out.
Yep.
Gaming space.
Gaming
community.
space. Yeah, he's got a little small table, a little coffee table right in the beginning of the store with a couple chairs around it that you can start up a card game. You can start really most games over there and kind of get to know people. And then he also has a little room that he's going to be putting a Wormwood table in, like a real board gaming table, a TV up on the wall, so people can do D&D sessions, people can get into a really heavy board game, and he's gonna try hosting some events here.
I think that for the space that it is right now, this would be a place to plan to host a birthday party, a Christmas event, your monthly D&D session, and I think that's what he'll end up finding. He'll end up finding a core fan base of 20 to 50 avid gamers who come in on specific rotation to spend time in the store, play at that front desk, battle him in Commander, and then pop into that back room for something they've scheduled specifically. There's not really a lot of room for come in and browse. There's not a lot of room for a big game
There's
night.
not too much to browse. You kind of see it all on the wall.
And so I think the community is going to be strong, but I think it's also going to be small, which is both good and bad. It means that this is going to be a good place to go out of your way to find a local gaming group, but maybe not the best place to sit down and be in one.
Yeah.
So there we have it, and I think we need to go on to the next location. Probably my favorite name so far.
My parents' basement. And this is a store that was really hard to find when I was doing my initial research on all the board game stores in Atlanta. I'm not even sure it is a board game store. It mentioned board games, but it says bar over here. So we're definitely going to check it out.
It looks like a comic book cafe bar, maybe a board game. Like the last board game bar, like coffee shop that we went to though in Nashville was really cool. So I've got high hopes. Just walking up right now, it definitely looks like a restaurant that has been converted into something unique. So we'll have to take a look and see. Not the right type of games.
They have so many different types of pinball machines, and so that's
different
kind of
like
game.
Street Fighter and everything like that.
That's the type of games we're gonna play some. But they also have a whole bunch of comics, and it's a bar that has a lot of different types of beer on tap. So different than we were expecting, but still really cool all the same.
And we'll talk about it more, but an amazing place to bring your own stuff. Mine was 5117, yours was 4.
I took a picture of yours.
Okay, so right now I'm winning. She has one more chance, or I take the pinball crown. That's just how it's gonna be. Not exactly board games, but
they used to have board games, but the kids kept taking the pieces.
That's true. Yeah. What a cool restaurant. What a cool bar.
Yeah.
What a cool pinball, arcade, comic book location. My mother's basement.
A fantastic place to host some games, honestly.
Oh yeah.
If you wanted to bring some friends and bring your own board game and get some drinks. Lighting a little dim, but it's still a fantastic ambiance.
We're not going to do like a super in-depth review of this one because it's not a board game space. But if I had to pick a place in this area to want to host a birthday party, a game night, an RPG session, if you can deal with it being a little bit dim and there being a little bit of noise and chaos around, so like don't have, I guess, ADD, I suppose, this would be a great place to sit down to play some party games, some quick games. No Lacerdas. But bring cockroach poker, get drunk, have a real good time, and then drive home safely.
Yes.
Safely, I said. You need a D&D. In the middle of an abandoned shopping mall, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a parking lot with ne'er a car anywhere, we're going to find challengers, games, and comics, which is continuing with a theme of a lot of board game comic hybrids here in the Atlanta area, which I don't actually mind, because some of them have been super impressive.
It's also continuing with the theme of being in a dead mall.
That is also a factor.
That's a theme we've noticed.
Here's one thing I can say though. From the outside, it does not look like it's actually open.
Until you realize that the lights are actually on.
Yeah, we literally were gonna drive past it and just do an update saying that it's closed, but then we saw people inside. So I guess we're gonna test it out. Let's see. So I was hanging out and chatting with Tony here, and you were telling me about, like, you guys don't do hosted game nights, but you have a Facebook group that actually coordinates a lot of board game kind of get-togethers and groups. How can people find that page?
Well, it's on Facebook, and it's called Board Gaming Indicator.
Board Gaming, one word,
T-U-R.
Indicator.
Yeah, Board Gaming Indicator.
So they've got an active group with people that, like you said, every now and then they'll just show up and kind of flood the store with a bunch of gamers, right?
Right. Yeah, before the pandemic, we used to have like a Wednesday night board gaming night.
Okay.
And I used to get probably like 24 deep. And so they spread out and stuff on all of our gaming tables and play.
Nice.
But since the pandemic and stuff, we only have like groups to get together us every once in a while here. Because during the pandemic, a lot of people got like these groups at home that they felt safe with. And so a lot of people started playing at home.
Yep.
And so now just every once in a while, they get together, talk on a group. If they can't arrange something at their homes, then they come and play here. Because it used to be like all through the week we were open till like 10 or 11 o'clock.
Okay.
But since the pandemic, we've been closing at like 7 p.m. Except for, of course, Friday nights, which is Friday Night Magic, and we're here to midnight.
That's fair. So Friday Night Magic, along with a Facebook group that actively organizes gameplay events. So if you want to get involved here, they've got a lot of game space. They've got a pile of games that you can pull off the shelf and play over there in the back. And you can, of course, bring your own and kind of join a group.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much for showing me around the store. I'm excited to talk about it and share it with more people.
All right, thanks.
Awesome. So one mystery that we had that I actually solved by talking with Tony here is this back used to connect to an active big retail mall, a retail outlet. And the front of the store is actually originally the back door. So they've actually survived through that outlet potentially being torn down and closing multiple times. They're still here, kicking and screaming. And this gateway used to be the front. Now, of course, it's closed up, so people can't access the rest of the location. There's a great store here that is maybe overshadowed by the fact that there's a closed building around it. So it'll be curious to see how you guys expand and what happens as new owners take over.
Well, like I said, the game plan for the mall is actually to tear it down.
Yeah.
So I've been like looking for a new location.
Yep. So the question is, what do you do from there?
The new thing can still be like another 2 or 3 years away.
Yeah, of course. So you're just kind of in limbo. You've got a great spot, you've got a great store and a great community.
Right.
And when you're forced to change it, you'll adjust.
Yeah. Like I said, the great thing about it is we're a destination place anyway. People come here for us.
Yeah.
So I was never dependent on the mall traffic.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Cool. So we're solving mysteries, asking questions, and checking out a store. They've got a great selection of hobbyist stuff, some more niche games that you can kind of find and source, and a lot of locations, a lot of game toppers tables if you want to come sit down and play with your group. So this has been fun to check out. Shira, how are you doing?
Good. That's one of my favorite games that he's not letting me walk home with.
Which one? Which one am I not? Is it like the deluxeified version? Have you checked?
I don't think Inish ever comes deluxeified.
I told you to do some research and we can have a conversation.
Inish and 5 Seasons of Inish. There's also Terraforming Mars. There's also Zombicide.
Okay.
I mean, plus marks for all the games here.
That is true. It turns out they were actually open.
They were not dead on the inside, and they were having a constant, steady stream of customers, despite the very dark signs.
So what we found out is that this entire shopping mall has supposed to be torn down like 3 or 4 times under different management multiple times, and the only reason they still exist here is because they have a door to the outside, which originally was their back door, and their indoor door, like the indoor mall door, is actually just boarded up with a giant tarp.
Yeah.
So let's go through our review and rankings, starting with friendliness.
Welcoming, friendliness.
We actually got a different vibe here.
Yeah. Wait. What do you mean?
You and I, we got a different vibe here.
Yeah, I thought they were a little defensive, a little standoffish, but Jessica, totally different vibe.
I thought they were cool. I thought I had a good conversation with them. They were excited to share about the community and welcome me to the space. I think I had to search for it a little bit. They did welcome us right when we walked in.
Yeah, like I was going to say, initially they said hi to us, asked if we needed any help, and we're very like welcoming on conversation-wise.
Yeah.
Just when we were giving them feedback about the outside storefront.
Right, for instance, the fact that you literally you cannot tell that it's actually open. I thought they should get like a glowing
sign.
like open sign or something like that. But either way, that's totally their.
But he mentioned that like he's not going to make any improvements while they're still waiting for them to make the decision to close down the actual store.
But no, I thought the guys were cool. I thought they were excited about the space. It sounds like they've kind of been open and running and set up, and they really rest on their laurels, right? They have a community that comes here that uses them as their go-to game shop, and that works for them. Which I think that works. Let's talk about cleanliness.
It's cluttered in there, dusty, a little chaotic, but the board games are actually organized decently well. Similar titles are next to similar titles.
Same with the comics.
Yep.
And same with the fact that they have, instead of just folding tables, they've invested in game toppers, which make nice gaming space. So like, it's this hybrid. You can tell this is a closed down mall. You can tell that there's areas that maybe haven't been kept up, and you can tell that they're waiting for that final verdict to know, are they staying here? Is the building getting torn down? Is it a year from now that they have to invest in a new place, or is it 7 and they just haven't? And you can tell that it's kind of
in a transition state.
You can tell that it's waiting to know what's going to happen to it, what's going to happen in the life cycle of the store, which means it's a little darker, it's a little dingier, it's a little dirtier. It isn't unwelcoming.
No.
But it definitely isn't. It definitely isn't spit shined.
The next one is the collection.
Actually,
found
really
some
solid
really
collection.
cool
We
titles.
almost picked up a few.
Yeah, we almost picked up. There was like Starfarers of Catan.
We would have walked out with Inish, except someone had dropped it.
Yeah, and the box was pretty badly damaged, so we didn't. But Inish was there, Terraforming Mars, Zombicide, Clank Legacy, and so
all
many
the miniatures
other really
from
cool,
Street Fighter. I mean,
really cool titles.
I thought this was a cool, fairly curated collection with some titles that we genuinely haven't seen out in the wild. Starfarers of Catan.
Yeah.
You can't get it at a better price than you could right here at this store.
And then last is Community, which they
don't host any official game nights, but they have a Facebook group that we already talked about that hosts and shows up and plays.
Yeah, and so it's good to know that they have a consistent community who's coming, frequenting their store, and they thrive on that. People are just constantly, it's their go-to place down in this area.
Yep.
It's across from all the other stores we were visiting. We're like halfway across town, so there's a pretty big distance, like here, over an hour drive between one to the other, depending on traffic.
Yeah,
so
basically what they said is like here in this space, they have the best board game, like retail best board game store available. Level Up is going to be the last place we go to in this series. Well, no, actually, we have a few that we did at night. The other night, but we're putting them at the night here. There's a whole conversation there. But Level Up we're headed to now. It is about 20-30 minutes out of the way. Two different blue cars. Either way, we're going to hit the road. This was a nice one. I would be happy to come back and look at their wares. And if I lived around here, I would have no problem making them a gaming home for myself. That being said, I think there's some things that they could do to improve and invite more people. But being mid-transition, man, I feel for them a lot because not knowing what's going to happen to your store space and the community you're building at it, it's just such a big question mark for the life cycle and how much energy gets put into a place. But it sounds like Shira's ready to go. Let's go see the last one. So we're here at Level Up Games, which is
massive. I mean, oh my gosh. People were comparing this to Giga Bytes Games, but this looks even bigger.
Kind of the other side of the city. Probably the biggest store around at the moment. The question is, what is their space and what is their community like and what is their selection? We're about to go inside and let you know.
This place is ginormous. I hear that it is the biggest board game store in all of Georgia, and it has so much different things. That wasn't grammatically correct, but I am blown away. They have so many games, both from intro, medium, heavyweight. They have Lacerdas, they have Stefan Feld, they have Blood Rage, they have Innis, they have all of these games that it's so cool to see such a wide and diverse collection. And they also have then back here all of these tables to play, and then they have a whole back wall of Warhammer. They have Marvel Champions, they have Yu-Gi-Oh, they have Pokemon, they have Star Wars. They have everything here. And if they don't have the one game that you're looking for, I'm pretty sure they could probably order it for you. It's insane.
Oh man, what a crazy last stop this is. First off, the people are amazing. The gaming space is incredible and massive. The amount of board games, war games, card games, geek and lore games.
Everything. And just random like cool stuff that I just want to pick up.
And here's the other cool thing. It is curated to a T. I mean, shelves are being moved, shifted, adjusted. Everything's organized based on designer and publisher. So you actually have the whole collection there. If you're interested in one thing, you can see the reference point.
Yeah. Should we go through our categories
right now? Gosh.
Because I mean,
no, we'll do a setup thing here in just a second. But like, I just like right now had to jump in and be like, we're stopping ourselves from buying $1,000 worth of stuff.
Hands down.
Don't come to this store
unless you have money to spend.
Unless you're excited about board games because
or geek culture and both, everything.
So good. It's so good. All right, let's talk about this absolutely. I know there's a light right there. Let's talk about this absolutely insane store, Level Up
Games. Oh my gosh, this store is massive, and it is doing everything right.
Everything.
I think it is probably the best game store I've been to ever.
It's fascinating because I mean honestly, the two stores that have been our favorite so far from this area are in heavy competition for being some of the best we've came across, and for different reasons.
Yeah, and they're doing things totally different. So here, the welcomeness, it's a massive store, and the register is in the middle of the store. So while the person behind the register actually recognized us from a convention and came over to say hello,
I guarantee they engage with everyone that comes through.
Yeah, But he came over to us quicker than most people
That's
might
fair.
have.
That's
Other
fair.
people he might have left walking around for a little bit. But he was so engaging when he did come over, and I saw him talking to other customers,
I saw him
recommending
seeking
games.
people out. Yeah.
He goes over and checks on the people who are playing in the back, so they're actively engaged.
Listen, let's just touch base on how incredible this is. So a culture of inviting people and welcoming people and encouraging people, but their games are also organized around publishers,
Sticking
right?
to collection?
I know, we'll get into that. Okay,
Cleanliness.
let's talk about cleanliness.
It's immaculate.
Spotless.
Yes, it's gorgeous. The floors are fabulous. They're hard floors. They're not carpets, so they don't get they accumulate all the grossness on
It's
carpet.
not even floors for me. It has to do with the fact that they have, the table we're on right now is a hardwood built wargaming table.
Yeah.
And each one is organized, clean, and precise. The tables on the other side of the hall are for board gaming and card
16
gaming.
tables.
And again, everyone is matching, nice, consistent, clean, cleared off. And we're at the end of the day. It's not like they've let junk accumulate and pile up.
The shelving system that they have is easy to see. Most of all the titles of the games, repetitions are put behind each other, but they're either with their front view or their side view. What are you doing with your hair?
It's just, I don't have my hat on anymore. It's very awkward for all of us involved.
Everything is organized.
Yeah.
And as we're going to jump into collection, it is curated. Games by the same publisher, by the same designer, are located near each other.
Yeah.
All of the magic is near each other.
Everything is organized so well.
Warhammer.
Everything is on display in a way that
All
made
my
us
Lacerdas.
try to buy stuff.
Yes, all of my Lacerdas are all in a row, and they were very tempting. Jesse's trying to talk me out of them, but there's some that I really want to get. Vinos.
It's such a good collection. Now the one thing that I don't see a ton of
is
Kickstarters. I don't see a lot of stuff with that label on the side, indie new Kickstarter projects, which makes this a fascinating game or a fascinating game store in cooperation with the other one here in the Detroit area.
Yeah, because that one really specializes in backing Kickstarters for their store and helping their consumers back them. Community. There's people here playing so many different games. There's
They
people
said
playing
Saturday.
card games over there. There's people playing. It looks like a D&D sort of situation or Warhammer.
And we're here on a Wednesday night. They said Saturday most of the tables get full.
Which is so amazing. There's
awesome.
16 tables over here, and then there's a whole other half of the room.
Yeah.
Like I said, this place is ginormous. You'll see from our B-roll.
They're also working on setting up a custom, private event hosting space with D&D, RPG, gaming. They're working on a personal gaming library so you can come in and bring your own stuff. They're doing a lot of stuff here, and they're doing a lot of stuff
they
right.
have food as well.
Yep. You can come and not
merch.
leave, is what Shira is saying.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can put a little sleeping bag in the corner and just never leave.
It's true. That is true. I think that's it for this review. What a cool final stop on this adventure.
Yes. Might not be final stop that they see.
No, probably not final stop that they see. We have some evening stuff that we're still showing off, but after this, we're gonna cut to the full review and breakdown of everything we've been to.
Yeah.
Highs, lows, all that. So, thank you for watching, and I guess we're going to whatever's next. So, we're on the way to a comic book store.
The Great Escape Comics and Games.
Yeah.
And we have some hope that because there's games in the title that it'll have some games, but most of the time we find that comic book stores are really great at comic books and not so great at games.
Except for a few times where they've been the best at games. Like Nashville, for instance, had an amazing comic game hybrid. So it's worth checking out, but we'll remain skeptical. So a quick little snippet here to just end off kind of this whole sequence of stuff. It has been a long day. We swung by the Great Escape Comics and Games. Just
more comics, less games.
It's almost not games at all. So from a board game standpoint, not games.
Yeah.
From a comic standpoint, definitely comics. But because this journey across Nashville, Cincinnati, Florida has indicated that some comic stores are great at games, we think it's worth giving them a shot and stopping by. So this is not going to be a board game one, but it was polite, it was clean, he was super respectful of the fact that we stopped in right at closing.
And the two games that I saw there that I remembered are Puerto Rico and Agricola. A little random selection, and Catan.
I saw a lot of Marvel Legendary and a whole lot of Munchkin, so that'll be your scale. But that's all. We're gonna go to the next place now, which should have more games. We decided to come to Giga Bytes Gaming Cafe actually in the evening because apparently that's when board games happen at gaming cafes. And I have to say, just walking up,
there's a lot of people here.
yeah.
And also, that's when like card game tournaments and everything really happens, when people who have regular, normal, boring work jobs come off of work.
So, our plan, we're going to dive in, we're going to sleuth around really, really awkwardly, see if they even say hello to us. We'll let you know at the end of this. We're going to probably sit down and be like normal humans, play some games, and take a look at the shelves. We'll update you, but the fact that there's humans playing board games
is optimistic.
Good sign, very exciting. Oh man.
This store is freaking awesome.
This might cost us so much money.
There is a community here. There's a lot of people playing not just card games and not just like Warhammer and miniature-based games, but there's people playing Nemesis, there's people playing Cockroach
There is
Poker.
a deluxified, 3D printed, handmade Nemesis game on the table, which we're going to show you footage of, but let's just get one thing straight.
Store. First of all, they have all the geek culture stuff, like all the stuffed animals, all the dice, all of that, and then they have a great selection of board games. I mean, come on, intro, heavyweight, everything, sleeves. They also have comic books. They back Kickstarters.
This is one of the best board game stores we've came across yet. So here's one of the coolest sections for me about this store, and there's so much more going on, but here we have the as seen on Kickstarter, now at Giga Bytes. And if you know anything about Quackalope, we do a lot of coverage of Kickstarter titles. But it's cool to see a store which is backing, supporting, and bringing deluxified copies to the community who might have missed them in the first pass. This means for me, there's a few games here that I want to pick up for myself that I just missed the chance to back on Kickstarter. It is incredibly dangerous, but also means you might be able to find some exclusives, some deluxified items, and some things that just are not available without this store backing them. So if you're calling looking for a Kickstarter, give Giga Bytes a call. They may have what you're looking for. I don't know if they ship out or not, but you might as well try. There's also 2 different spaces here as well, and 2 different functioning communities. At the same time, there's war gamers and board gamers happening in the other room. Here in this space, there's actually, it looks like, a Magic tournament going on. So it's neat how they have everything divided up. They're giving room for players to really engage with the tabletop experience and play whatever they want to play. So yeah, just insanely impressed. So not only do we have the Magic section, the board game section with a intense amount of Kickstarters available, we also here have an entire series of rows for miniature painting, wargaming, Warhammer, anything you really need for this whole entire hobby space, which means that this store caters to nearly every type of gamer. There's even some comic books in the corner, some other novels and things like that. There's literally everything you're looking for, which is incredible. So another interesting thing that I just found out about the store is it's owned by, well, a person who publishes, or at least works with a lot of other creators to publish, license, and distribute their titles across the country. So Giga Bytes here has their whole list of games that, well, they've helped bring to market, which is also equally so cool. Okay, it was about as expensive as I thought it would be. We got t-shirts, I got some Marvel Champions packs.
I got little dinosaurs for my friends' kids that have smells to them, grape and strawberry, so super awesome.
Very weird. And no. I think we're meeting up with the owner, publisher, distributor, concoction of everything tomorrow morning to check out his distribution hub where he's working with Machina Arcana, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we decided,
final review.
Yep, final review. So, welcoming. They were packed tonight, and
they were.
When I was meandering around the register, someone asked if I needed help with anything, but they didn't necessarily say hi initially.
So the registers are in the back of the store.
Yeah.
You actually have to get through a lot of the crowd. Now, one of the cool things is a crowd member
actually recognized us from the channel, so that was cool.
Things maybe went off pace a bit there. I do have to say, the community, when I engaged with them, were incredibly welcoming.
Yeah.
The staff members were respectful and helpful. However, not a lot of people outside of the one guy who knew Quackalope went out of their way to connect with us, despite us kind of walking around looking odd for a bit. Part of the nature of that is it is 9 o'clock at night that we're here, and the store's set up and running with tournaments, with people buying games, with food being made.
RPGs rolling, D&D sessions.
Yeah, a whole game of Nemesis going on the table. So I think this is a community night where people, of all sorts hop in. That being said, I don't know that if I was a brand new gamer,
If you'd feel open to...
I would feel open to playing at a table that I didn't know.
Yeah, or even walking up and asking someone what they're playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cleanliness. I thought the store was great. Organized. There's actually a little library in the back. Did you notice?
I did. I saw the little game library in the back.
So they have a little game library. They have a little painting session in the back.
I also saw
so much
about
geek culture
30
things.
board game table bags in the front. Not 30, but like 15 of people that just brought their own piles of games, which is cool.
Yeah. Definitely cleanly, organized. Games are cool.
It's not shiny, and whoever is driving is very obnoxious. It's not shiny. It's not Apple Store cleanly. It's not like the high windows that we've seen at some other stores. It is a board game store, meaning there are corners that maybe haven't been spot cleaned. There's definitely back rooms that haven't been renovated for a little bit, but it's really nice.
Yeah. What's our third category?
Third category, collection.
Collection. Fantastic. I mean, they have Kickstarter exclusives because the owner's backing them and distributing them. It's really cool to find games that you thought you don't have access to anymore, and he's selling them.
Yeah, so, there's a really great curated collection. I'm a little upset that Mantis Falls and Ratcatcher are still on the shelves. People here need to come buy those immediately. I almost left with a copy of each, even though I already have a copy of both of them. I need like Quackalope approved stickers to just go spread around.
People are asking for them.
Oh, yeah, they are. We need to just maybe go ahead and make them. Selection was fantastic, with one caveat. Selection was a little weird as well. Like, there were some things, some publishers that I kind of expected to be around. Like, I didn't see as much, like, AEG, for instance.
Okay.
I was looking for, like, Cat Lady and Dog Lover.
Interesting, yeah. I did not see as much AEG. I did not see as much as Capstone games.
Yeah.
And I also didn't see many roll and writes. I saw Welcome To, but I was looking for some more of we started playing Railroad Ink on this trip, and I was looking for some more colors. We have the yellow one, and I was looking for the other colors. I didn't see any of those.
That'd be Horrible Guild. There's also, it's funny, the intro games go from like Connect 4, Sorry, to Century, which is intro game, to like heavy Kickstarter deep in games. There's
Catan and there's Equinox.
There are some, yeah.
And Santorini.
It just this seemed to skip a lot of what we see in most average stores and go straight towards heavier, more deluxeified, more specific, which I actually really like.
But it was such an interesting collection, like you're saying. Like, there's so many things that I was like, oh, I did not expect to find that here.
And there was a lot of things where you're like, did you see this? And it's like, no, it's not on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. You can tell someone is caring about what they're bringing into the store.
And then community, which, as we spoke about in the beginning of this video, there are a lot of people here tonight, and
all the way to 10 p.m.
Yeah,
they have a Magic tournament going on. They have other card players.
They have a whole calendar in the back room that says like what they have going on each night. It looks like an active and thriving community for gaming, and that makes us really happy to see.
This is one of the best stores I've came across.
They even have these tables outside, which I'm really enjoying. I would love to sit outside and play games.
Yeah, this is a fantastic store. Really, the only thing that I would note would be, I would encourage the community here to continue pursuing people that they don't recognize.
Yeah.
Because that's the only maybe caveat that I put on it.
Yeah. And maybe some of the more typical games, standard, I don't even know if I could say that.
No.
Like,
as long as it's a cared for collection, I don't really care.
Yeah. And I'm curious if you can get stuff to order as well, because that would be important.
Oh, so much going on. Oh, you can pre-order Kickstarters that they backed for the store.
Cool.
So yes, you can absolutely get whatever you need. So,
any case.
Yeah, we've got some more stores to go to.
Yeah. But I got stickers and magnets and t-shirts and dinosaurs, so it's all good.
It's been very good. Hello, welcome to the end of the video. If you skipped to this part just to see our final kind of review and breakdown of all the stores we visited,
well, you're in the right place.
This is going to be the highs, the lows, the best, the worst, and our honest opinion of the Atlanta board game scene. What a cool day.
Yeah, a long day, because you have to drive all over Atlanta to actually see all of the board game stores, and they have a decent amount of traffic, but definitely a place to visit.
So for those of you that are just joining, we went to the Great Escape Comics and Games,
Giga Bytes Tabletop Cafe,
Titan Games and Comics,
Oxford Comics and Games,
Challenges Games and Comics,
My Parents' Basement,
Master Goblin Games,
and Level Up,
which is where we're filming kind of the end of this video. So let's talk first about the Atlanta gaming scene as a whole. Impressions, things that you think they're missing, things that people should get connected with.
They seem pretty into board games as well as into Magic. I think those are a lot of Warhammer, a lot of doing some dungeons at D&D, a lot of doing some D&D scenes, Warhammer, Magic, and then just some generic board games, honestly. I've seen plenty of those happening.
The interesting thing for me is a lot of the stores seem to be hybrid comic book and board game store shops, which sometimes works well and sometimes is just a big miss when it comes to shopping. So if you're here as a board gamer, there's probably 3 or 4 stores that would actually be a disappointment to you if you were coming searching for board games specifically. Yeah. If you're a comic book fan, there's a few stores that would be incredible for both.
And that you should always visit.
You should always visit. Yeah. So, and we'll have a conversation about that. I think they have a really healthy community, albeit not in the inside of Atlanta. You'd really want to be kind of northeast, it seems like.
And in the suburbs, kind of outside of Atlanta.
And we didn't go like 40 minutes outside of the city in the southern or western direction. To be fair, we didn't see anything out there that we specifically were hunting for, but there's a strong chance we missed your favorite game store of all time or your community one.
Comment down below, and next time we swing through, we'll try and check it out.
Happy to do a part 2 in whatever other towns there are.
We're doing one of those for Florida right now.
Yeah, and Level Up honestly was recommended to us. It wasn't on the list originally, but it's such a big store about 30 minutes outside of the city that we thought we'd make sure we stopped by before we hit the road. So let's talk about it. The best store for new gamers.
The best store for new gamers, I think, is probably going to be Level Up, because they can take you from start to finish. They can guide you through the process. The store is not overwhelming to be in. It's got a lot to offer, both from starting to, like, Lacerdas. They have Lacerdas here. And then they have roll and writes, and they have everything in between, all of those genres. And the staff behind the counter know their games.
I would agree. Level Up is probably going to be the best for new gamers. It is unintimidating in every regard. Open floor space, lots of room to walk around, plenty of space to sit down at tables and get out of the hubbub, and like you said, staff that know what they're talking about. The thing I would say is, one thing I'd love to see eventually at Level Up that I think they're working on post-pandemic era is a little bit more of an emphasis on a gaming library so that new gamers can come and not only be here, but test, play, and learn games from friends and community members. I know they have a very busy weekend section. We're here on a Wednesday, so it's a little bit less, but I think they have a really active, really busy community, and I would encourage anyone in the area who hasn't been here before, come during a game night event. Come walk around and ask a staff member to help you find a group to play with. I know that is even intimidating, but it's less intimidating than going and sitting down at a random table. So ask a staff member, and I'm sure they can help you, connect with some locals, connect with some people that are always looking for another gamer.
If the staff member hasn't found them first, honestly, because the staff here just dart out, like they come out from behind their
They go hunting for you.
And they go hunting. And they say, hey, do you need help? It's great.
It's what I expect from a gaming store. And it's such a refreshing thing. Best store for hobbyists.
Probably Giga Bytes, honestly. They are diving into Kickstarter, which is the one area that I think Level Up is lacking. They haven't gotten really into the Kickstarter and the indie kind of publishers that not a lot of people see.
They're not backing deluxified components or waves of indie and waves of Kickstarter that are exclusive and not going direct to retail, which you have to be ahead of the curve on that.
And you also might be taking a risk with some of those. Some of those may not be doing as well as the other ones. So those require taking a risk, whereas all of these other titles, they're known to titles, they're doing well, they're selling. And if they're not selling, they go put back on a clearance shelf. They have a clearance shelf over here at Level Up. But Giga Bytes, they are backing Kickstarters, they're helping their community back Kickstarters, and while their space is not as open as Level Up, they have a very curated and specific collection.
For myself, I think I'm going to agree with you here as well. I think Giga Bytes is going to be where I think hobbyists should graduate to. If you have your core game group here at Level Up, I see no reason why you wouldn't continue being here. But if once you fall in love with the hobby, I would encourage you to honestly go to both stores. Make that extra 40-minute trip every couple of months to spend some time over at Giga Bytes, or vice versa to spend some time over here, because they really do have a different marketplace, a different community, and different ways for you to get connected in the space.
Yeah.
But Giga Bytes is going to be, for me, the winner when it comes to a hobbyist store and not just more of a kind of retail environment, right? Moving on down, the most disappointing store for us, or the worst store for us personally?
The worst store for me is actually going to be Challenges Games and Comics.
Okay.
The one that was so hard to find, looked closed from the outside, and didn't seem very receptive to feedback about that. I thought that they had a really decent collection, and I thought their geek culture was fantastic within the store. They had a lot of comics as well to dive into. They had t-shirts on the side, but they seem very content with staying within their community that they already have. And for someone new to the hobby, it is daunting to walk into a store like that. I think they could expand so much more. They have so much more potential that they're just not tapping into.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I felt comfortable there, but I felt comfortable there as someone who's willing to step out of my comfort zone and try to connect. I can totally understand why, for you, that's not
I like
the best
staying in
one.
my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Everyone knows me around.
And I think you're probably more typical in the hobby space than me being Quackalope is. Me not being Quackalope would probably also side with you there.
What was your biggest disappointment then?
The biggest disappointments for me are actually going to be two of the comic stores. Specifically, I believe it's the Great Escape Comics.
Okay.
And Oxford Comics and Games. So the Great Escape Comics really didn't have almost any board games. They had a very small selection, and the receptionist, while it was really late at night, and I'll give him grace for that, wasn't too engaged or receptive. He really just kind of worked there and didn't want to tell us his favorite comic books or engage with much of the conversation. And I get it, dude, but it doesn't make, for me, just being a one-time passer through,
want to come back
to leave with a super high praise. The other one is going to be Oxford Comics and Games. I thought it was nice, but I felt like it was not as curated and nice as the other comic books. Not as engaged.
Even though they had the anime and they had all of that?
But that's not what I'm looking for. If you're looking for the adult side of the industry, if you're looking for the anime and the manga, of course, they're the only place we've seen so far that has that. But I'm not looking for any of that personally. I didn't love the layout of the space. I didn't think the atmosphere was super inviting. I felt like it was kind of like a used DVD store vibe, like an old Blockbuster. And all of that's to say, I think comic book fans may love that. But as a board gamer looking for board games, that is not a place that I would want to return to.
I did not like the way they displayed their board games, both at eye level and then
or their selection. None of it made me go, wow, let me keep looking. And I'm the type of person that goes into Walmart and goes, wow, let me keep looking. Let me get that right. Outside of that, those will be my two biggest disappointments. Any other things you want to shout out or talk about?
I think if you're in the city and really close to being downtown, you should check out Master Goblin Games. It doesn't have the selection that that these bigger stores have, but it is clean, it is fresh, it is open, and the guy there is very eager.
Yep.
He wants to get to know his community. He wants to establish kind of a home base in that downtown area, and I think it is a really great place to check out.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of the places we went through, and if you're skipping to this end part, go back and watch some of the segments on your own time, because the stores are all so unique and worth adventuring to. My parents' basement was a really cool atmosphere.
Yeah, it was so cool. The fact that they have so many different types of beers on tap. Yeah. They have all of these arcade games, so many pinball machines, and then they have space to play outside and inside. And apparently in Georgia, it's decent weather most of the year, so outside is actually an option.
And I can't not mention Titan Games and Comics. I thought they aren't the top in any of this, but if you're a board game and comics fan, I think it's worth swinging by that store. It was a nice kind of little hole-in-the-wall place that had a lot going for it. I'd be perfectly happy to come back for a game night or just go back and ask their advice on comics because they had some great stuff to share.
Yeah, they were really nice behind the counter. Geeky, but very nice.
So they were a little geeky, but they had a lot of great recommendations. And yes, there was a hard cut there because
the camera shut off. It stops recording at 10 minutes.
It does.
So
that's the only issue with this little vlog camera. All that being said,
Atlanta is a fabulous gaming
It's a great gaming community. Yeah.
And,
If you're in the right area of the town.
and I'd be happy to join their community.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they have so much to offer. They have so much potential, and I can't wait to check them out on our other trips.
If you're looking to move here, if you're planning your trip to Atlanta, if you're doing stuff around the board game space, though, really honestly level up in Giga Bytes. It's going to be your hub, right?
And try to check out online when they're having their events, and go during an event time, because they both will have space for you to bring your own games and play.
Yeah.
And Giga Bytes has their own little small library in the back that you can play some of the games there.
Yeah.
But they'd love to have you.
So that's going to be it. That is a vlog, another travel vlog. Let us know what cities we should go to next.
We are planning a trip
Because
out
she
west.
is
eventually.
loving planning and
yeah.
getting all this up and running. So I think it's time for us to hit the road and actually make it down to Florida for a bar mitzvah with the family. That's why we're traveling after all. We never updated you on that. All right, let's buy some games and leave.